All right, fellow English teachers and teachers of rhetorical analysis, I have yet another hammering home the thesis writing workshop video for you, in which we use classic television commercials to solidify writing introductions for FRQ2 or rhetorical analysis in general. And in today's video, I'm going to showcase Nolan's Cheese, hilarious commercial. And just to make sure we're all on the same page, this is the one where the mouse gets whacked by the spring of the trap, and then he lifts it up and down like a pull bar, like a dumbbell, and the Rocky song is playing in the background. So there's spotlights. The Doors, This Is the End, when the trap signals, and then he that's the word I'm looking for, he bench presses the trap to the sound of the Rocky soundtrack. So you want that commercial. There are a number of Nolan's Cheese commercials on there, but the introductions that we're going to take a look at in this particular writing workshop video are highlighting that commercial. So per usual, I'm going to Bob Ross how to do this and give you lots of exemplars and models and demystify the process for students and teachers. And we'll walk you through how to implement and how to manipulate my declarative thesis template to come out of the gate with blazing speed for your rhetorical analysis essays. So my little aside all the time that I say to teachers is this: you got to Bob Ross your instruction. And I always encourage teachers I work with to position themselves as a quasi Bob Ross of instruction. Get to that proverbial canvas and easel and paint with your students. Show them how to do this, right? If you've ever seen Bob Ross in The Joy of Painting, he explicitly taught. He got up there with his paint and palette and brush, and he walked us through happy cloud by happy cloud, tree by tree, right through the painting every single time. So when I teach writing, I'm at that easel, I'm at that canvas, and I'm painting intros with my students while manipulating my template, while pulling the strings of my template. And Bob Ross, a little known fact about him is that he used a template as well. In art, in painting, you call it a heuristic, and it's known as the wet on wet technique. And for my students, they either declare or invert the thesis for their introductory paragraphs, and then their bodies, no matter the expository mode, whether it be rhetorical analysis, lit analysis, argument, persuasion, synthesis, research, all bodies are done syllogistically. And I have a ton of information, lots and lots of videos in my YouTube channel that will show you how to pull the strings of my templates across the modes. So for our job in this video, we have to ask ourselves the question, because we've seen the video, we've debriefed it with class, and we've kind of ascertained the meaning a little bit, and we have to ask ourselves this: how do I construct the introductory paragraph? And as I've already alluded to, you got two choices: declare or invert. But aha, my students that really follow me know this: you declare the thesis for rhetorical analysis. It's easiest. It ensures that you're meeting the demands of the assignment, and make sure that you're not writing cliff note summaries, because oftentimes students will retell the story of the commercial, and that's what happens when they use the inverted paradigm. With declarative, we're doing straight up rhetorical analysis from start to finish. So one of the things that I do in my classroom is this: we have a poster on my wall, and it has little Velcro, stick it to it. And every time we encounter a new term, device, technique, we add that word to our poster. And as we watch the commercial, I have students they stand up voluntarily and they remove the term, the device, the technique that is most manifest in the commercial, and we put it on a separate board. Because ultimately what we're doing is this: we're going to declare the thesis, and implicit in any rhetorical analysis prompt, implicit in the prompt, it's like a little cheat, it's like a hack. All right, if you can figure this out, you're going to guarantee yourself the thesis point. In the prompt of every College Board rhetorical analysis, you have two hidden questions. What is the authorial intent, and how does the author construct meaning? Since we're going to declare the thesis for the purposes of performing rhetorical analysis, we're going to start with the second question. How does the author construct meaning? Whenever you answer that question, that is your thesis statement. The answer to that question, how does the author construct meaning, houses the thesis. So in my template, every introductory paragraph students ever write are going to be 4 sentences long. So here's what my students do. They take 3 sentences to answer the question, how does the author construct meaning? And they focus on the 3 most salient, germane, relevant terms, devices, techniques. So go back to the poster, right? They have to find the 3 most important ones that are manifest in that commercial and lead with that in the introductory paragraph. How does the author construct meaning? So 3 sentences, because you got 3 terms. What is the authorial intent is going to be a 4th sentence, right? So always 4 sentences. So what does that look like in graph form? Declarative thesis, think of it in terms of a triangle. You begin with the thesis. You declare the thesis. How does the author construct meaning? You got to focus on the 3. Sometimes it's 4 if the piece is really pithy and juicy. You have 4 terms, devices, techniques that you mention, and 1 sentence authorial intent. By virtue of that, you're going to sprinkle in a little bit of context and background, but don't get regurgitative. Don't like retell the story of the commercial in the sense of this happened first in the commercial, then this, then this. That's plot summation. That's plot analysis. We're doing rhetorical analysis. It is an academic paper, so we want to see tier 2 level vocabulary in this. And what I mean by that is your average run-of-the-mill SAT level caliber words. Don't totally geek out. I want to disabuse students of the notion that using $1 million words is the equivalent of good writing. It's not. Use your words wisely and stay in your wheelhouse. You got to sound natural. You got to be your academic best self, but stay in your wheelhouse and sound natural. You might even find yourself teeter-tottering a little bit of colloquial vernacular with the tier 2. Less so in rhetorical analysis than the other expository modes. I think this is, the expository mode where kids geek out the most. So definitely a healthy smattering of tier 2 level words. Sentence constructs. My students are well versed in the art of strunk and white. We have read thoroughly and done lots of exercises in our Nuance Academy around strunk and white seminal text called Write It Right. In Write It Right, there's something known as rule number 18. Rule number 18 makes the assertion that there's 12 different ways to cobble together a single sentence. So in the hopes of chasing that elusive unicorn known as the sophistication point, my students are trying to write with a certain voice, rhythm, flow, alacrity to get the unicorn. So you're going to see them have some good syntactical manipulations and avoid the tendency of young, emerging, struggling writers to overuse independent clauses and short, simple declarative sentences. And as I've already mentioned, house it all in 4 sentences. All right, so I've talked pie in the sky into the ether enough. Let's see what my students are doing with this. Student number 1 approached this introduction in the following manner. So we're going to see 3, construction of meaning, 1, authorial intent. The contrast in mood between the 3 juxtaposed songs sets up the punchline that this is some seriously strong cheese. All right, so you got the contrast juxtaposition, right? So you got 3 songs that are overlaid here. That's the first thing you got to note. The whole like narrative is set to the backdrop of these 3 songs. So that's like the most important thing that you got to mention. And then the logos of the piece. Nolans is some seriously strong cheddar cheese. Borrowing from the cultural belief that mice have a special affinity for cheese, the blissful, carefree protagonist delights in the discovery of his bounty. The first song, with its diction of sunshine and happiness, immediately gets interrupted once the spring of the trap snaps and the tune shifts to reflect that this is the end. So This Is the End by the Doors plays. But given the ethos of this remarkably strong cheddar, Like Rocky, the mouse is undefeatable given his fortified diet of Nolan's cheese. So this is perfect. So you can see here in terms of dropping the terms, juxtaposition, contrast, right? You get down in here, lots of discussion about the songs because this is pretty much the gist of the whole thing. And you have the ethos in it and also the logo. So a little bit of focus on the characterization of the mouse as well. And implicit in that, kind of hinted at, you have the authorial intent, the exigence of the piece. All occurring in 4 sentences, 3 plus 1. Vocab is nice. Sentence constructs are flowy, supple, and fluid. So that's everything we want to see. So student number 2 steps to the plate and they say, all right, I'm going to do this declarative thesis template, 3 plus 1. Here it is. Contrasting 3 songs with very distinct moods, Nolan's Cheese gives voice to its boldest proclamation yet, that this is some seriously strong cheddar. So you got the mood, the contrast, the ethos in this. The first song, laden with the pathos of carefree bliss, comes to an abrupt end once the nefarious spring of the trap unloads to signify the protagonist's ultimate demise. But no, the background music offered forth by the doors that the mouse has met his end is just a pretense. With an allusion to the ultimate champion, Rocky Balboa, the cheese-eating mouse rebounds to rise triumphantly. So as you have probably seen in my other videos, if you've watched them for hammering home the thesis, I usually have my students imply their lit terms. I'm fine with them explicitly stating them. So this student said pathos, they said mood, contrast. It really doesn't matter, right? As long as you have that suppleness and that alacrity to the voice and the diction and the sentence constructs, you're all good. You're definitely getting to get the thesis point. And does it preclude you from getting the sophistication point? I don't think so. I think for both of these examples right here, any College Board reader would stop and say, wow, both of these kids have some serious chops. If they can sustain this in the rest of their essay, I'm seriously going to contend that these kids earn the sophistication point and they will get the award of the unicorn at the end and get that elusive sophistication point. Student number 3 says, I'm going to do that 3 plus 1 declarative thesis thing too. So look at this. With 3 very distinctly different songs narrating the events of the commercial's narrative, Nolan Cheese proclaims that he's the champion reigning above all other cheese. The first song, anchored in diction that suggests an easy blissfulness, abruptly comes to an end once the lever of the trap signifies the protagonist's ultimate demise. But given the ethos of the cheese, the foreboding music offered by the doors gives way to one of the world's greatest champions, Rocky Balboa. Within this illusion, it is clear Nolan Cheese is the breakfast of all champs. Right, and that's how you do 3 plus 1, 4 sentences total. Focus on that tier 2. Focus on those sentence constructs and just adhere to the 3 plus 1. 3 most salient terms, devices, technique comprise the thesis. 1 sentence authorial intent. Keep it in that declarative triangle, and you are golden every single time. So what I have done to simplify things in terms of downloading slides, because I've been doing a lot of email lately, and to simplify my life, I've decided to do this. I am grouping 5 slides together. So I did this commercial. I coupled it with the Coke keeps you thin, the Folgers sexist commercial, Guinness wheelchair, and 6 Fingers toy. So if you go to teachingwritingcoach.com, there's a link right beneath us here where you can go to that and download these templates. Also note that I do a ton of PD with the National Writing Project. If you ever want to work together, I do one-on-one consulting. NWP and I offer many PD courses. I work with districts to help teachers get trained and aligned vertically. Whatever you want to do, I'm happy to help out. So I have information on my webpage about all of my comings and goings, and there's tons of stuff there that you could take a look at, teachinghowtowrite.com. Any questions or queries, send to teachingwritingcoach@gmail.com. Be well, happy teaching, happy writing.